Hello and welcome. This is Don Mays. This is a presentation by Macedon on the SAP Business One Outside service process. In this presentation we are going to show you how to create a purchase order for a service from a subcontractor, save this purchase order, and then transfer parts to subcontractor for the eventual return of a processed part. Show you how to track the quantities at the subcontractor at any given time. Then we'll make it easy for the clerical person to do a PO goods receipts for the service and then automatically receive the part back from the subcontractor and reduce the on hand of the items that were sent to the subcontractor. The system will handle a one-to-one subcontractor issues or a many-to-one subcontractor issues. Without further ado, let's go into the demonstration. In this example, we are going to walk through a welding service where we're sending two parts out to a subcontractor and then getting back a welded part. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the weld part that is set up. This is the actual service. You'll notice that it is a non-inventoried item, and in this particular case we're going to go in and charge the service by quantity. We could charge it also by weight. In some cases that is how subcontract services are charged. The part that we are going to be looking at is this welded part. It is composed of two components, three of one part, two of another, welded together to get this particular part, 19020. So let's look at the setup of these two parts, the 19020-1 component. If we look at that in inventory, we'll see that it is flagged as an outside service item. Likewise, 19020 is also flagged as an outside service item, and they are both set to backflush. There are no particular setups for 19020 itself. So at this point, let's go and set up a welding purchase order for the service. Bring up a purchase order, and we will choose our vendor. And in this particular case we will go in and say that we are going to do the weld service, because that's what we're buying. We're buying welding services, and we will buy a quantity of 500, and we will pay for the welding service $2.10 per piece. You'll notice that the 09 warehouse is the default for the weld service, and the 09 warehouse is flagged as a outside service warehouse. Okay, that's the information that we need to put on there. Then over to the right hand side we have got an incoming item that is 19020, which is the part that is coming in from the outside service contractor, and we'll just click the add button on that, and we should be creating purchase order 161. Okay, if we bring purchase order 161 back up again, now this send to sub button is now active. So at this point somebody from the production group would go in and say, hey, we need some parts to be welded by Blockies Corporation. So they would ask one of their clerical people to go in and send the parts out to get to the subcontractor. So we would bring up the purchase order. With the purchase order on file, we would click on the send to sub button. The send to sub button would ask us how many pieces we want to send out. Let's send out 150 pieces. Click OK. At this point, the issue to sub has occurred. To go and see what actually happened, we can go into the inventory inventory transactions and look at the transfers. We'll look at the last document out here. And what happened was 450 of one of the components and 300 of the other component were transferred to warehouse 09, which, if we look at our warehouse again, is the outside service warehouse. So now we have the parts sitting at the outside service warehouse in quantities that are proportional to the bill of materials quantity. Now, several days later, what's going to happen is the parts are going to come back from the welder, and at that point in time we need to go into goods receipts PO. We'll key in the vendor. We would click copy from, purchase order. We would get the welding, and we would go and say we've got 85 pieces came back. We click finish. Now we've got 85 pieces that come back from the subcontractor blockies. That was for the welding service. If we click the add button at this point in time, it will bring up the part 19020, which is the part that we received back, and we're doing a goods receipt for that part for 85 pieces, which is how many we got back. It is related to goods receipts PO 217, which was the goods receipt that we just keyed in. This is 218 behind it. So we click the add button here, and the issues to the subcontractor has been changed. So let's look and see what that did. In the inventory screens, inventory transactions, under goods issues, what's happened there is 85 times 2 and 85 times 3 of the components have been issued out of the warehouse 09, so they're no longer in stock there. At any given time now, so that completes the receipts of the items. But at any time we can go look at a particular part in inventory. Let's look at the part 19020-1, which is one of the two components. Bring it up on the screen. There is a quantity at sub button, and this shows you all of the ins and outs of the issues of transactions. There's the document numbers and the amounts and quantities that were issued or received. So we can look and see all of the transfers in, issues out of every single record that went to the subcontractor. So we can always find out what number of parts are left or remaining at the subcontractor, which is the 1908 in this particular case. To summarize the SAP Business One Outside service process, we get the cost of the item received back as the sum of the service cost plus the sum of the component cost times bill of materials quantity for each of the components. So that's an accurate reflection of exactly what the cost of the item being received back into inventory is. The accounts payable invoice created from the receipt is actually for the service for the welding. Outside service is also very easy for the receiving clerk to manage. There's no tricky screens or anything extra tasks to do within the SAP Business One. It's simply looking at the screens and clicking add. During the transfer of product out to the subcontractor, we can print a crystal report for the shipments to the subcontractor so that our truck drivers have the right paperwork when they go to the subcontractor. Most important, however, is we always have visibility of the on-hand subcontractor. So all of the ins and outs to the subcontractor are tracked, and we can always see exactly how many we have out there. Thank you for viewing this presentation. And again, if you have more questions, more information, www.macedon.com. Thank you.